I would just like to give you the introduction of the topic, which is hidden economies of favors and introduction. So a brief sketch of this would be something like almost everyone would have been at the receiving end of the phone call saying that you two should meet, or it would be a conversation in a golf course, or it would be 11 p.m. call on WhatsApp, or maybe something like a breakfast dinner which was never on your Google calendar, right? It's very informal, but I would like you to today name it, and we'll try to understand this black box. So we'll look at the different phases. So I would simply just like each one of you to share from your very specific personal example, what was that one introduction that you found was very significant in changing the outcome that you are looking for. So beginning with that example, we'll just walk through some different steps, and finally we'll lead to what was the final way of reaching that networking of sustained credibility or your social capital. So that is the whole closing of the loop, beginning with the unexpected introduction and leading to finally networking of an accumulated social capital, right? So we'll start one by one. Any one call specific example which you received either on WhatsApp or on over a breakfast, over a golf course, or maybe over just receiving an unexpected call saying that you two should meet.
So I'm also part of the Chennai Angels. So there's a lot of calls that come in, and many times it's mentoring startups, the startup founder connecting me to a different founder, call coming in and saying, okay, hey, you should meet this founder. They're doing some very interesting stuff. They need some help there in that stage. So, I mean, recently there was a call like that where one other founder said, okay, you should definitely meet this founder. It started with a 1 hour conversation, but we spent about 4 hours. So that's what I could remember. Recency bias.
So you can also conclude by saying what was in it which made it very valuable, and then we have some other phases.
So, yeah, I take these calls to understand what is happening from the industry, right? At least keeps my brain fresh, what is happening. This was a deep tech company. So for me, I understand what is happening in the industry, what is happening in the Indian space. This was serving Indian defense and space spectrum. And we started talking, and then they were in a space where when I had my startup, they were going through some of those scaling issues, people issues, right? They just got funds. How do we put this fund? So it's a very interesting. So sometimes the story mirrors your story. You kind of get involved and then talk more. And then I think we spent a lot more time in terms of addressing what are the challenges that he's having, and he will see in the near future. And we got into that. I think from a perspective of he came with probably certain set ideas in mind. I think he was very open to talk ideas rather than what set ideas. I think that led for me also to give more openly, because sometimes you also find founders or some of these coming with a very fixed, okay, I want this. Can you provide me this introduction, or can you give me this? So it started like that, but it is not an introduction anymore, but we went into a business topic. So that's where it started. For me, it was a learning, and for him, I mean, I hope it was some learning too. So.
Yeah. So I can start. First, I'll do a challenge to the premise of this conversation, because I don't think introductions are doing favors to anyone. Because at the end of the day, if these introductions don't lead to something meaningful, then there is no point at all. So I personally don't ever consider these things as favors. Basically, you are helping people within your network. And if there is something meaningful that can come out of it, I personally get great satisfaction. If two people that I've introduced and something meaningful has come out for both of them, I think I feel very happy. So that's the core premise from where I see this at a more personal level. To give you a personal story, a couple of years back, one of my ex-bosses introduced me to another CEO of the company. And this introduction was made to achieve a completely different outcome. But it succeeded in achieving something totally different. And I'll give you what it was. So this CEO actually wanted help in strategy for the business. And because I had spent a lot of time in that industry, my ex-boss thought that, I'll be able to contribute and help. So we started talking about it. I started helping. There was really no commercial engagement. I was more helping as a friend to a co-CEO trying to understand. What it led to is for this company to actually set up operation in India. While the discussion or conversation never started there, it was more about customers, strategy, how can the business grow, which segments to target, how to target them. But somewhere along the way, we realized that they did not have a cost leverage for the business. One of the things that emerged from that is that if you set up operation in India, you'll actually help the business to grow faster because you'll be able to get the required talent, which was very difficult for them to do in the US. So what conversation started as more strategy and business oriented ended up, me helping them set up operation in India. So completely different outcome, but today the business is doing really well. So I was pretty happy, where it got to. So a lot of times when this begins, one should be open to achieving outcomes that were not originally thought of, and it could lead to something totally different, which was worth the investment that both of us made, and it was really good for the business going forward.
Right. For me, I mean, it's a old anecdote. It was back in 2019, and I was trying to build a team, and I required a specific SME with a behavioral science background. And unfortunately, India doesn't have that behavioral science curriculum very well placed. So I wasn't finding it for 8 long months. During that period, I had told a couple of my friends and colleagues as well, I'm looking for this kind of a, chap, if you find someone, please let me know. 8 months later, so one of my colleagues, he called me, sometime in the afternoon and said that I've just met this kind of a guy over on a flight. Do you want to talk to him? Right. So, and finally those things materialized. That guy came and joined us, and there were 2 things that, which were very important. I mean, while he focused on outcome, to me, it was also the journey which built trust, right? First is the trust with that particular guy who remembered my need for over 8 months. He was speaking casually to somebody, connected the dot, came back to me. So, that entire experience, my trust in him that he's going to take things seriously is much more, right? And my collaboration with that kind of a guy will be much higher as well. The social transaction of favors and, introductions, whatever it may be, will be much higher with that kind of a, pursuit. So, from my side, I think, network is a medium. Favors are a social transaction of one sort. And the underlying element is trust, right? And trust is reciprocally related to the cost of that transaction. Cost of that transaction can be favors in return or, some other, format or something. But the higher the trust, the lower will be the cost of transaction every time you, transact, right? So for me, that experience was quite great.
Thanks. I think very nice examples and all. Before coming to the example, actually, so I like one word, hidden economy, right? The more reason why it is called a hidden economy, because it works only when it is not deliberate, it is not transactional, right? And the moment you put a price to the favor, it becomes a transaction and it doesn't work. So the underlying beauty is the unmeasurable reciprocity, right? So I'll give you example from my side of organization. Let's say I was trying to get this client, and there was almost a 1 year cold calling happening between my team and this client. And then suddenly what happens at a very senior position, senior person from my client, he's my existing client, he moved from there to this new organization. And he just, oh, you guys are talking to these guys, they are very good. And years of cold calling, it's suddenly replaced by 1 week of deal transaction. Means the entire discussion, resulted in a deal, right? So that is how it works, right? So the economy is such that your years of building the trust from a scratch, it was built within a week or within the moment the person said that these guys are trustable. So what happens is that person is giving us a loan from his reputation to us that these guys are trustable. I am taking a loan, borrowing actually the reputation, and now also it becomes my duty to reciprocate that trust But the moment I fail it, let's say I prove to be like, good for nothing, that entire, transaction or economy collapses. It's a slowdown, economic slowdown that happens. And that's a beautiful example where, I saw that this hidden economy working in a nice way. So that's a experience from my side.
Thank you.
So first and foremost, while I am from entity, I'm not representing entity. And the reason I have to make this disclaimer very strong and bold is because I come from the HR function of entity. So true or not, favors and introductions are the most unspoken, undefined expectations from HR. Because HR world is very small. We are the ones who open the doors for opportunities to many. And some of these unspoken relationship that you call on favors and introduction, professional relationship, it actually becomes very sensitive for HR, right? And like our friend rightly mentioned, trust. To me, favor always blends with trust, and introduction comes with goodwill. So the reciprocal fact that everybody spoke here, it comes from the space of trust and goodwill. So, and HR world is a small world. For me, personally, I feel this is here to stay, and it will only get better and better as we move forward. And especially with AI having to take over the control in the market, right? And IT industry, this is most prevalent. The talent rotation that happens in the IT industry comes absolutely from favors and introduction. There's no other way, and especially the leadership, in the leadership team, maybe one layer below the leadership team, it's all about favors and introductions. So I can't reveal more, can't speak more, but know that it does open up opportunities, career opportunities for several, and it's prevalent. It's quite prevalent in the IT industry. Thank you.
Yeah, so I come from the private equity and venture capital industry, somewhat like what he said. So our industry is entirely about networks, because some of us take pride in saying that we did this investment by directly connecting with the entrepreneur. Usually it's an intermediary who does it. So if we don't do it, so ours runs entirely on net. So I think there are too many examples of people helping. And what I want to suggest something different because of the stage of life I am in, because I'm now past my formal career, I'm now doing a lot of other stuff. The real test of your network is after you move out of your role. Okay, and I have found it out that overnight after I left my formal partner role, about 70% of my contacts, so-called network, just disappeared for the same purpose. So I think I would, I want to agree that there is no cost to it. There's always a reciprocity feeling in the corporate world. In the personal world, is different. And sometimes you do both. And most people would like to do both. You do, like, I've been sitting on the board of hospitals. So people call me for, if there's any patient emergency also, they'll call me. So one is I do my role, but somebody wants any help there, I do that. And I'm not saying that, but the only thing I want to say is there is a life to this contact and everything, which the real network is what lasts beyond that. Today, out of my 100 people, maybe 30 people whom they would still, give credence or give trust or everything, I think that's the real network. That's a limited point.